Part of the Treasury Department, our criminal investigations included counterfeiting and the forgery of U.S. government checks. Since President Johnson maintained offices in Austin and came to town often, the agents of the Austin field office worked hand in glove with the agents of the Johnson detail. This car, the black Lincoln limousine, which is not armored, was owned by President Johnson and was usually kept at the OBJ ranch. It was one of 3 cars used by the president. The other 2 cars were Secret Service vehicles owned by the Austin field office, a black '68 bulletproof Cadillac limousine and a standard white Lincoln Continental. These vehicles were stored at the field office and were driven by field office agents whenever the president arrived in town by air. We referred to any car carrying a protectee as a limo, no matter what type of car it was. When I was hired, the special agent in charge of the Austin office, Ken Weisman, gave me a list of about 25 places President Johnson visited in Austin and told me to be able to drive to any of them day or night with no ifs, ands, or buts. This wasn't difficult for me because I had been living in Austin since the 8th grade and knew the city well. I recall the first time I drove President Johnson. He landed on the roof of the Federal Building and boarded our white Lincoln in the basement. The president said, "Let's go to Lucy's house," and I said, "Yes, sir," and took off. Mike Howard, the agent in charge of the Johnson detail, rode in the right front seat, and other agents manned the follow-up car. Within a few minutes, the tension inside the car began to build. I was driving down streets that neither Mike Howard nor the president had ever seen before. Mike leaned toward me and tapped me on the knee and whispered, "Lucy's house?" I glanced at Mike and nodded yes and kept driving. Finally, in a caustic tone from the back seat came a voice. "Mike, may I ask a question?" Mike said, "Yes, sir, Mr. President." "Where in the hell is that boy going?" About that time we came around a corner and the president said, "Well, there's Lucy's house right there. I don't think I've ever been that way before. I think that was a little quicker." After driving around town with me several more times, he began to realize that I knew all the shortcuts and back roads that could save him time, which was always important. So I quickly became the driver of choice for President Johnson whenever he came to town. On May 22, 1971, I was assigned to drive President Johnson to the dedication of the LBJ Library. It was to be quite an event. President Nixon, Vice President Agnew, members of Congress, and many other dignitaries were to attend the outdoor ceremony. Dr. Billy Graham was to give the invocation. That Saturday morning, President Johnson needed a haircut, so we took him to a barbershop called the Razor's Edge, located near the present-day Seton Hospital. We were using our field office white Lincoln that day. Mrs. Johnson actually arrived at the library separately that morning in this car, the black Lincoln limousine, driven by Hal Purvis of the Johnson detail. We left the barbershop about 9:30 a.m. and headed for the library. Mike Howard was again in the right front seat. As we traveled to the library, the president was going over his speech. At one point, he had to recite how many documents were housed in the library, and for some reason, he never could seem to locate the number on the page when he needed it. Finally, Mike Howard said, "Mr. President, why don't you write it on your hand?" So that's what he did. The dedication went off without a hitch, and at the end of the day, the president was very happy. Later that year, I was driving President Johnson and Walter Cronkite around Austin, and Mike Howard was again in the right front seat. The president said, "Walter, this boy is the best driver I ever had. He knows every Indian trail in Austin. When I was president, I got driven around by a bunch of fast-talking Yankees who couldn't find their way to hell without going up and down Lamar Boulevard." That was about the best compliment I ever received from the president, and it was delivered in typical LBJ fashion. The last time I drove President Johnson was on January 16, 1973, to the inauguration of Governor Dolph Briscoe on the south steps of the state capitol. President Johnson died 6 days later at the LBJ Ranch. Sometime later, I was transferred from the Austin field office to the Lady Bird detail. Mrs. Johnson, now a widow, said, "Well, boys, pack your bags, we're going to see the world." Her trips were off the record, no public events, just private travel with friends.
Told before, writing together became therapeutic for both of them. They have now written and published 3 bestsellers. In their writing and in their travels, they also found each other. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lisa McCubbin and a genuine American hero of mine, Clint Hill. Please.
Wonderful introduction. Yes, I've known Tom for 52 years. He was a White House fellow, but he went on to bigger and better things with more important titles, including one that was president, not of the United States, but of an organization. But the biggest and best title I can think of is friend, because Tom has really befriended the Secret Service and its members. And without his help, it would not be the organization that it is today. So on behalf of all the agents in the Secret Service, I'd like to thank you, Tom, for what you've done for us. Thank you. And I do want to give you a glimpse into our latest book, 5 Presidents, My Extraordinary Journey with Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford. And Lisa McCubbin, who is the writer, will be asking me some questions, so have at it, Lisa.
Well, thank you all. We're so glad to be back here in Austin. Clint Hill was born in January of 1932. It was in the middle of the Great Depression. His mother already had 5 children, and she realized she could not care for him properly. So she had him baptized, and when he was 17 days old, she dropped him off at the North Dakota Children's Home in Fargo, North Dakota. Luckily for Clint, when he was 3 months old, a wonderful family, Chris and Jenny Hill, adopted him. They also had a daughter, Janice, that they had adopted. And he grew up in the small town of Washburn, North Dakota, in this home, population 912. Clint, growing up in this tiny town in North Dakota, did you always think that you wanted to be a Secret Service agent?
No, not at all. No. My goal was to become a history teacher. I majored in history and physical education and minored in education, so I wanted to teach history and coach athletics. But I graduated from college right at the end of the Korean War, and so I had to go into the military. After basic training, they sent me to Fort Holabird, Maryland, the Army Intelligence Center, and they trained me to be a special agent in counterintelligence. And I did that for a number of years. It was time to get out. I was looking around for an organization that would have a similar investigative background as the Secret Service, as the Counterintelligence Corps. And I found the Secret Service, which at that time had only 269 agents in the entire organization. And so there were no openings. But a man retired, and I finally got that job, and I started out in Denver, Colorado.
So he had only been in the Secret Service for less than a year, and he was transferred to the elite White House Presidential Protective Detail. President Eisenhower was the president at the time, and this is Clint standing in the doorway there. That was back when they wore hats. And so what was it like working for President Eisenhower?
Well, you know, he was a military man, so he brought that military bearing right with him into the Oval Office. If you gave him a schedule and told him that he had to be departing the White House at 9:30 a.m., at 9:29.30, he was in the car ready to go. He relied on us a great deal, but we were not his favorite people, and he wouldn't call us by name. He would simply treat us like he treated the troops. He'd just say, "Hey, agent," and we would respond. But we had a great deal of respect for him, and we enjoy.
Hello? 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 This is Harry Truman. Mr. President, I love you as everybody in America does, and I'm just so honored that you would take the time to call me.
Well, I called you because I think you set a record that's never been equaled and never will be.
No, anybody got your record, never equal it. When you go to looking at the Truman Doctrine and NATO and Marshall Plan and everything else, it makes all of us look like pygmies, and I know it, and that's one good thing about me. I got sense enough to know it, but
Well, you're all right in my book, and I just wanted to congratulate you, and I feel just as happy about it as you do.
I know you feel happier because you always been more for your party and your other folks than you have been for yourself. And I just want you to know, as long as I'm in that office, you're in it, and there's not a privilege of it, or a power of it, or a purpose of it that you can't share. And your bedroom's up there waiting for you, and your plane standing by your side, and your doctors and anything else you want or need. Why, by God, Uncle Sam will...
First time I'm able to travel and get around, I'd like to come to see you and just talk over old times.
You just tell...
Nothing in you but to see Elizabeth Johnson.
You just tell them that, and you bring Margaret and your grandkids down, and we'll have a plane pick both of you up, and we'll just come there. And I want to get your advice and talk to you. And I think we got a good chance, but we're in trouble on foreign things. And
you're all right now, and you won't have any serious trouble at all. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I'm available.
Well, you've done it. I came to you when I wanted to know how to run for vice president. I came to you and I want to know how to run for president. And I think that we gave them a good mauling, just what you wanted them given, didn't we?
Just exactly what they ought to have had. It's the finest thing that's happened in the history of the country.
They rubbed their nose in it.
Well, that's right.
They were dirty. Oh,
that's what they ought to have had.
You don't know how dirty they were. They put out mean...
I do too. I got so damn mad I could have killed somebody.
They put out these mean books, and they questioned my integrity and my honesty, and
I know they did, but do you want to forget that? Because it's gone fast. The vast majority of the American people never believed a word of it.
Well, I know you didn't, and Clark Clifford told me, he said he read your radio speech, and he said, well, only Harry Truman can do this. They come and go from Washington, Jefferson, Jackson, but there's just one Harry Truman. I watched him all those years, and somebody else may bunt and get on base, but when you want a cleanup hitter, he comes along and parks it.
Well, you're too kind to me, and so is he.
All your people have been awful loyal. I think you ought to know that. I think that everybody, whether it's Harry Vaughn or Charlie Murphy or Clark Clifford,
that was a finer bunch of fellows.
they work free, and they
do anything in the world that they thought would help me, and I want them to do the same thing for you.
Clark Clifford thinks that you're the greatest man that ever lived, and he worked free for me against his own interest, against his own firm, just day after day when they were trying to smear me. And
I know that.
Charlie Murphy and Donald Dawson and Harry Vaughn, and I think you ought to know that you didn't breed any of them that haven't got the right bloodlines.
Well, I appreciate that. And the first chance I have, the first opportunity I have, and I'm able to get around in good shape, I'm going to come to see you.
Will you promise me one thing?
Yes.
Tell Miss Truman that we love her, but anything that you want or need,
you tell her.
All right, you just let me tell her. Miss Truman, I was just...
Oh, we're so happy.
Oh, I know you are, and y'all is responsible for as any two in the nation. The wonderful work that you've done and the great help he's been to me. And
Well, now that's mighty wonderful of you to say that.
no, but that's true. He always had time for me. He's always...
Well, of course he would have.
He's always thought more of his party and his friends than he has for himself, and you make him watch himself now, because
I'm trying to.
he's no spring chicken.
It really isn't.
I want to tell you one thing, though.
Yes.
I want you to hear it. I've said this ever since I became president, but I want to reiterate it, and I don't want to overdo it. But anything that he wants, or he needs, or that somebody suspects would be good for him, from doctors to planes to coming to the White House for a few days, bringing his grandchildren, going any place. Your domain.
Well, I try to be, but you know it doesn't work very well.
Well, I'm pretty strong for you.
I know you are. You couldn't be any stronger and make me any happier.
I'm a Truman man.
I appreciate it.
I called you up because I wanted very much, if you feel like it, and if you think you can, and if it doesn't tire you out, I wanted very much for you to come to the inauguration, and hope that you and Ms. Truman and Margaret and
Do you want me to tell you something?
Margaret and her children and anybody else that you want to bring, any of your kinfolks, and just take over the Blair House, and I'll put everybody in the government at your disposal. And
I'll be there.
And well, you just
You don't have to do that to get me there because I was coming anyhow. Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I know I don't want to impose on you, but you got so many friends and so many people.
Whenever you consider that you are imposing on me, you talk to me and you find out you're not.
Well, everybody loves you. And you tell Miss Truman that Lady Bird and I called last night, and we want to talk to both of you, but
We're in Kansas City, out in Kansas City making a speech.
we missed you, so you got a big house. You know more about it than anybody because you lived in it, and
That's right.
and I'm going to turn it over to you and Ms. Truman, and you all invite anybody you want to. Ask Margaret and the kids, any of them that can come, and
I'll do that.
you just have anybody, and we'll have whatever cars and whatever servants and whatever else you need to make you comfortable and happy. And you come to what you want to, we'll have everything for you. And what you don't want to, you just tell them go to hell and go on and go to bed.
Listen here, Mr. President. If you keep this up, you're going to spoil me entirely.
Well, I want to. You're entitled to be spoiled. You've done enough. You've done enough for your country that you're entitled to be spoiled.
I'll be there.
Tell Miss Truman we're looking forward to seeing you.
I'll tell her.
Yeah.
I'll call her right now and tell her.
I'll sit down and talk to you about some things I need to talk to you about when you get here, and you just let us know, and the plane will pick you up.
Anytime I can be of service, you know you can call on me.
You just let us know, and the plane will pick you up anytime you want to.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. Bye. Good. I'm going to have a little operation Friday morning for gallbladder condition that we'll announce in a little bit. And I was calling you on another matter, but I thought I might tell you before you heard it on the radio.
Oh, I see. But it's not serious, is it?
I don't think so. It's a pretty big gallbladder club, but no one ever knows until they get it behind them. It hasn't given me any trouble, but they think it might rupture or something if I get it taken care of. Got a lot of stones in it.
Well, take care of yourself, Mr. President.
Bobby, I'm going to, I want to send the name of Jim Watson, who's now on the court up in New York, to the Senate for a vacancy we have for Negro on the Customs Court. It's been vacant for some time. One of Truman's appointees, I believe, retired.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send a judge, a Republican judge from Indiana, and got an FBI back on Watson. He's on some state court, and I want to promote him. It'll be a vacancy, but as I understand it, it'll be filled by appointment temporarily.
Yeah.
You know him?
Jim, is his name Jim Watson?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I met him. President Kennedy asked me to take him to Jamaica to the Independence Day ceremony.
Yeah.
And I took him and met him and have known him since then. He was a good supporter of ours in '60.
That's fine.
Was in the state legislature in New York. Then he was elected a judge in New York.
Yeah.
And the judgeship pays $25. This customs court sits in New York. And it's had 2 vacancies, and it's a lifetime job. The state judgeship is a 10-year job.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to send him up until I talked to you. And,
That's fine.
okay.
You know, whatever you say.
Thank you, my friend.
Mr. President, you know I talked to Bill Moyes about the papal nuncio.
Yes, I asked Russ to see him. I'm going to hospital Thursday. I talked to the Pope about him yesterday. We are very distressed about what's happened there, and we've got Bunker there every moment. I called him up over this weekend. The
Fulbright thing nearly destroyed us. I don't think we've hardly won the election because our own people have questioned what we've done. Yeah. And there's a good deal of anti-American sentiment. I'm confident that we'd have had another Castro if we hadn't have gone in when we did. But the 2 or 3 stories, Schultz's coverage and one or 2 others have put us in a rather bad light, and our own folks' statements are being used very effectively against us, and there's a good deal of anti-American sentiment, as you know, has been there all through the years. And I don't know, Bunker thinks that this fellow in another week or 10 days may be able to get the leftists disarmed and Camaño's group integrated back in the Army, and Bunker's back down there trying to get that done. If he's unable to do it, we're going to have a choice then of either having to identify ourselves with another outfit or see the Army come back in for a takeover. It's going to be a very difficult choice.
Yeah. Well, can I just be frank about it with you? I just think that this is not the kind of thing that, I mean, I'm glad to have Secretary Russ see him. I just don't think it's the kind of thing that he's going to understand. And, you know, this man's got some criticism about how the situation is being handled. He has some rather extreme ideas about what could be done in the future. He doesn't think that it's a question of money. And it's got to be, whoever talks to him has to have your confidence and be able to, if the idea makes any sense, put it into operation. But if it ever gets lost in the machinery of the State Department, it's never going to be done.
Well, I asked Russ this afternoon. He told me when I brought it up with Mac and the group that was present that he had an appointment with the papal nuncio, who apparently is asked to see him. He came down for this cabinet meeting when I told him I was going to the hospital. And he said he had an appointment with him and he'd report right back. And I told Mac Monday to carry through with it. I know what he's going to say. He's going to say just what Bunker said this week, that things are in a hell of a mess there.
But he has some ideas, Mr. President,
all right,
about what, you know, just on the question, he says there's tremendous starvation throughout the country.
There is, and they want about $30 million immediate program, and our economic people are working on it. But the question is, if we're going to turn it into a communist base, when and how